So you're getting ready to write an offer, but right now in this crazy market, you're having to put so much money down and potentially even going over asking price, in many cases going over asking prices in this seemingly hyperinflated market. And maybe you're a first-time home buyer, or maybe you're not, but what if? What if you get cold feet? Your agent's saying you gotta put all this money down up front in order to secure the house, and it's nerve-wracking, right? Hey everyone, today we're gonna switch it up a little bit and talk about more of the technical side of real estate. Oh, but first I gotta give a little disclosure here. While I am a real estate professional, I am not any sort of legal authority. I am not an attorney, and this should not be considered any sort of legal advice. No, no, no. So both Shannon and I have a deep-rooted passion for coaching, and so this is going to be like a little mini coaching session on how to potentially get out of a contract. And to be clear, we're talking about after you've written an offer on a house and it's been accepted. Yay, you won one, good job. And now you are in what is called a ratified contract, meaning that it's all official on both sides. And so naturally now we are in escrow. But for whatever reason, you need to get out. Well, most states are very similar, but because I'm an agent in Oregon, we're just gonna kind of talk about what happens in Oregon, okay? So, number one, and this is the main one that most people use, is the inspection contingency. The inspection contingency is what's used like 95% of the time. Basically, the contract states that the buyers have X number of days, business days that is, usually 10, to have an inspection and conclude further negotiations based on those inspection results. So repairs and stuff like that. So one of the first things we do when entering in a contract is get the home inspection scheduled. Usually it'll take about a week to get them actually into the house, and then you have a few days after that to conclude the rest of your negotiations. Sometimes repairs can be taken care of by the sellers. Sometimes there's some sort of monetary value associated with them, but that's not the point of this video anyway. If nothing else, this is one of the main get out of jail free cards when it comes to getting out of contract. Now remember, you do need to pay the $400 or $500 to have a licensed inspection professional come in there, or just, you know, if you have a friend who is a licensed professional, you can have them go in there and take a look. Now it doesn't matter exactly what they find. They can find literally a drop of paint that's out of place. In that case, you can simply disapprove of the result and boom, you're out. Number two, title report. Preliminary title report. This is provided by the title company once escrow is open. The exact timing of when this gets sent out is a little different from company to company, and it also kind of depends on when they get everyone's contact information, but it is usually before the inspection timeline has expired. The title report shows the condition of the title, what easements are on the title, and any liens or encumbrances on the title. Again, this one's pretty easy to get out of as long as you're under the 5-day time frame, business day time frame. You can just simply get out. While someone might wonder why you bailed on the title report, it's not really any of their business. You could just be like, hey, I don't like the fact that the electrician can come onto my property. No, we're out. Number three, seller's property disclosure. So the seller's property disclosure is a document, a fairly long one at that discloses what the sellers know about the condition of the property. So there's a million check boxes, like, is there insulation in the walls? Check yes, no, or unknown. Or, do all of the electrical outlets function properly? Check yes, no, or unknown. There's a ton of boxes, all the way down. So most selling agents are sharp and they send this out right away. Because of course, they want to minimize the buyer's ability to get out of the contract. So they'll send this out right away. Because the timeline to reject, if that's what you're going to do, is 5 business days from the day that you receive it. So again, sharp agents, they want to get that countdown timer going so that you're less likely to get out of the contract. However, I have been in contracts where agents either drop the ball and forget or don't think it's that important, and they don't send the SPD over, seller's property disclosure, until the week before closing. Well, in that case, basically, you're sitting on a get out of jail free card. If they never give it to you, you don't have to worry about, accepting or rejecting until you get it. So once you get it, if you needed to get out, you can simply waive it at that point. Which means that we can technically just bounce and get out without any penalty. Okay, with the first three options so far that we've talked about, there's something very distinctive. It's that you call the shots, meaning that you don't really need a reason. You can just kind of say, nah, I'm out. But with the last two, we're gonna be dependent on someone else, okay? Number 4, financing contingencies. If for some reason the appraisal does not come back at the purchase price or better, that's grounds for getting out of the contract, which you may also hear referred to as, well, the house didn't appraise. But furthermore, if you receive notice from the lender, wait, this is important. John, hold on a second. This is important. We got to talk about this. Why would anybody care if the appraisal comes in low? Well, the bank is giving you a bunch of money. The lender is loaning you a bunch of money. So they want to make sure that the asset that they're loaning against is actually worth what they're giving you. If it's not, then the bank won't go through with the loan, and then you don't get the house. Right, so back on track. Furthermore, if you do receive notice from the lender that you no longer qualify for the loan, that's a way to get out of the contract. Although it's usually not the way that you want to get out of the contract. It's more like a bummer by that point. Now, this usually only happens if something crazy changes with your financial situation. Like you lost your job during escrow, or you went out and bought a car and that payment that you just took on screws up your debt to income. Or there were some things that were hidden really, really deep on your credit report that maybe weren't caught on the initial, the initial look through. There could be any number of things that could pop up, but I'm not really a lender and everyone's story is different. I mean, the truth is that this almost never happens. Could you imagine if it did? Sure, you can go out and buy that house, and then, you get in a contract and the lender says, oh, just kidding, I wasn't very good at qualifying you for the loan. You can't buy this house. That lender would not be around very long. But occasionally it does happen. And in that event, you could get out of the contract. Although usually by that point in time, you don't want to get out of the contract. You'd be pretty frustrated. Number 5. Okay, now the last one here is completely out of our control. But the other side can sometimes do things that gives us an out, or doesn't do things that can give us an out. Now, in every contract, there are things that both sides are obligated to take care of. Most of the things are on the buyer's side, but occasionally there are things on the seller's side that they need to do to keep the contract on good terms. For instance, like the SPD. They never send it over, they're in default, right? If they're responsible for pumping the septic tank, and they never do. Or if they have to do some of the repairs that you agreed on during the inspection, and they don't do the repairs. Or, I don't know, maybe the home's an investment property and you weren't able to go and walk through physically right when you submitted the offer, and part of the contract you wrote in was that you needed to do a visual inspection of the property, and they never allowed you to do that. Well, anytime the seller doesn't come through with something for you, well, they're also in default, which means that you can get out of the contract. Okay, one final thing that I want to clarify. Typically, when you enter into contract on the front end, buyers typically agree to submit earnest money. This is typically 1% of the sales price. That's a bit of a good faith deposit, but we always recommend more. And yes, I just said typically 3 times in one sentence. The earnest money is what we are trying to protect here. Down payment money, none of that happens until closing anyway. That's not really at risk. It's the earnest money, that 1% or 2%, or sometimes it's hundreds of thousands of dollars in earnest money. That is what we are trying to protect here. Now, all of the things that we talked about here can get your earnest money back, but sometimes we run out of these, get out of jail free cards, and sometimes buyers decide, without any technical reason that they just want to get out of it. in that case, that's when you have to forego and give away your earnest money. Basically, you can't just, break the contract for no reason. If you do, you will lose your earnest money. And we've seen it. Heck, we've seen everything. I shouldn't say that. I'm sure there's plenty we haven't seen. Okay, well, whatever. We've seen a lot, okay? Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us personally. Our contact information is in the description below. And if you haven't already, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up or a like or whatever they call it. Smash that like button and consider subscribing to our channel. If you want to know more about how real estate works, we created a whole playlist for you. Yeah, it's right over there. It's full of great how-to information for buying and selling in Central Oregon. Hope you check it out. And thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.